dozens of babies have become ill in France, one in Spain and another in Greece, after drinking baby milk contaminated by Salmonella. The life-threatening bacteria were found in products made by French dairy giant Lactalis at this factory in Cron. It recalled supplies twice last month, and the plant has since been closed. But despite the alert, some retailers continue selling Lactalis products. Now, the company is being accused of negligence. Lactalis found traces of Salmonella at its site in August and November, but wasn't legally obliged to report the discovery. Last week, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire called for a crisis meeting.
Lactalis reprendra.
Lactalis will withdraw all the infant milk products made on the Cron site, no matter their date of production, from all the places where they are sold, and in particular supermarkets and pharmacies. The goal of this radical decision is simple: avoid delays and difficulties related to sorting and risk of human error.
Family-owned Lactalis is the world's third largest producer of dairy products, behind Danone and Nestlé. The industry giant makes $20 billion in annual sales and has nearly 19,000 employees across 40 countries. The recall has now been extended to 83 countries and involves some 12 million tins of baby milk powder. After staying silent since the scandal emerged, CEO Emmanuel Bernier spoke out on Sunday and denied slowing the recall process to curb losses. He promised to compensate affected families, but his offer has been rejected and hundreds of lawsuits have been filed against the company by families who say their children got sick after drinking Lactalis powdered milk.
Nous n'achèterons pas le silence.
We won't buy the silence of the families. I talked with them again last night, and no, I'm telling you, not one family wanted to talk about the compensation. What families are expecting today is not a private deal to drop their claims, but to have the truth on what happened from the beginning till the end.
It seems paying damages might be a solution for the company, but many parents are more worried about the health of their children. Usmaan Lone, TRT World.
So let's get more on this now with our editor-at-large, Copetas, who's live for us in Paris. But first, let's speak to Didier Quemener, who's also in Paris, and he's a chef and also food and beverage industry consultant. Didier, I want to start with you, if I may. And I hear that you're also a new father, so many congratulations on that. And as a new father, what was your reaction to this Lactalis scandal?
Thank you, Aja. Thank you for having me. Well, you know, it's a very chaotic situation. As a father, you just feel very bad about the situation. First of all, because other infants were affected by this recall and the Salmonella tainted products. But it's more about all of that. It's the negligence that drives me crazy and makes me angry about this situation. We're speaking about a group that's making multi-billions turnover every year, a group that basically lied to its consumer because they knew before the state inspectors came to their factory, they knew that there was contamination and they didn't feel like they were bound to basically report the contamination. Well, now you know what? They're bound to be responsible for it, and there was negligence. So as a father, you feel concerned because obviously you know that a newborn is going to be very fragile, and even if it's a 2 or 3 year old child, you have to be careful. But right. It's just that the fact that once again the consumer at the end of the day is the one who's going to pay the price, and it's a terrible situation.
Didier, you live in France, you're at the heart of Europe. Are you surprised that in such an advanced economy with such tight regulations over things like food, that such a thing could happen in France?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not surprised at all. A few years ago, I was also called on TV to speak about the recall for the horse meat scandal linked to the food industry. It's obvious that even in France and even in the US, because I lived in the US, when there's a recall for contamination, whether it's going to be Salmonella, E. coli, or anything like that, you know that those big industrial groups have a hand on everything. And at the same time, they more often, most of the time, they fail to basically report the proper information and to make sure that their consumer is going to be safe. And it's not just the fact that I'm going to be surprised or not that it happened here in France. The point is that why did it happen why didn't we stop the epidemic, and why is it still going on with the president of this group who basically fails to say that it's negligence? How do we call it? It is negligence because there are 12 million boxes out there in more than 83 countries, and we need to basically recall that. So it's a complicated situation. I understand from the industrial point of view that it's tough, but from the consumer, you feel just bad.
Okay. Craig, I want to turn to you, if I may. As we've been talking there, France's food industry, of course, is one of the pillars of the country's economy. What are the wider reputational risks and the damage to the industry following this scandal?
Oh, there will be trickle down. You have to remember, historically, baby formula is the mother of all hot button issues. It goes back to the 60s. It involves a lot of the Western baby formula companies who went into the third world. Their sales representatives dressed up as nurses, selling the women in developing countries on the idea that they didn't need to breastfeed their children, that they needed to buy this formula. And many of these children got ill because the formula wasn't good. They made it with contaminated water. It got to such a fever pitch that the United Nations had to step in. So now what you see here is a very large privately held company, as Didier spelled out, trying to push this under the rug, and the government would not allow them to do that. That is significant. We've never really seen the government a French government come out this loudly condemning one of their homegrown corporations, albeit private.
Right. Craig, one of the fastest growing markets for the French dairy industry is China. Could this scandal affect France's dairy industry standing in that very, very important market?
Oh, you betcha. There was a recent scandal involving some other companies about baby formula and other dairy products being hit with botulism that was going into China. And to show you how concerned the French government is about this, as are the CEO of Lactalis, made a big deal of saying that what the government did to fix this situation, he said it was not a ministerial decree. The phrase ministerial decree has a lot of weight here. He said it wasn't, and he's right. This is what the French are calling privately a lettre de cachet, essentially a letter from Macron, signed by the minister, metaphorically saying, you clean this up, and you clean this up now.
Okay. Craig, Didier, I want to turn back to you for a second. How does Lactalis go about cleaning it up now?
Well, it's going to be complicated because, as Craig mentioned, first of all, it's extremely embarrassing. It happened at a time where our French president, Emmanuel Macron, was on a state visit to China, where he's trying to push for food exports and basically take the French flag to China and say, see, we have like the greatest food on earth. Please buy our exports and all that. I think that the CEO of Lactalis has to come forward in a less secretive way and say, listen, there was a mistake. We're going to clean up the mess. We apologize, and we're going to make sure that from now on, safety is going to be the number one rule in this company. And that hasn't happened so far, and I think it's a mistake.
Didier Quemener and Craig Peters, both in Paris. Thank you both very much indeed.